God is sovereign over everything. He is sovereign over the entire universe. He is sovereign over nature. He literally has created everything that exists out of nothing.
It is the doctrine of sovereign election that empowers and ignites missions, and it is the doctrine of sovereign election that guarantees the success of missions around the world.
We will not build the church according to the changing whims of an ungodly culture. We will change that ungodly culture by the power of the immutable gospel.
All I have is God wrapped himself in flesh, died on a cross, nailed my sin thereto, was placed in the grave, rose again on the third day, ascended to the right hand of the Father, and is there making intercession for me until such time as my salvation is completed and he takes me home.
The more they see, the more they will love him. Stop giving them all this silly fodder and life principles and lay before them. Live your life in solitude, crying out to God. Live your life on your knees. Live your life with your Bibles torn asunder. Live your life for the people of God to be able to present to them the beauty of what he is, the glory of his cross.
There is no such thing as Mother Nature. God rules and reigns over everything. There's not a leaf that falls from a tree that God did not call it to fall at that very moment. God is in control of every single thing, meticulously ruling over the entire universe. Join us for the 2023 G3 National Conference on the Sovereignty of God.
It is insulting that you would consider such action about a forgotten community that none of you live in.
Developing tonight, outbursts and outrage at a community meeting in South Shore over a housing plan for migrants.
The debate comes as the city deals with the crisis of where to put migrants bussed in from the border.
Elizabeth Matthews is live now with more. Elizabeth.
Corey and Don, contentious to say the least. This forum was a chance for city leaders to get input from the public about the old South Shore High School housing migrants. The city got their input.
A packed house at the South Shore International College Prep High School. The crowd voicing their opinion, strongly opposing the addition of migrants in their community.
I am just outraged. I'm outraged, and I don't understand why our community was chosen.
City representatives saying the old South Shore High School would not be a shelter, but one of 3 respite centers for the migrants to temporarily sleep, eat, and take a shower, starting with about 250 people taking up the building's first floor. This is a way for the city to get the current 300 migrants out of the police stations. Questions were asked, but answers hard to hear, interrupted by the upset crowd. Before the meeting, a small protest of South Shore neighbors demanding the energy put into the migrant issue be put into their neighborhoods.
It is a slap in the face that we as citizens of the United States of America do not have the resources and support, but you're going to bring people who are not citizens here in our community, in our buildings that we pay taxes for, that you took away from us. Yeah. That is completely unacceptable. We are in a humanitarian crisis right now. The black people in Chicago are bleeding on the streets.
Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson had this to say about the migrant crisis.
We have a responsibility to make sure that families who are seeking love and support here in the city of Chicago and throughout the state of Illinois, that they are not just welcome, but they are serviced.
President Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, Maxine Waters, Cori Bush, Ayanna Pressley, and others have been selling black people wolf tickets for years by keeping you enraged over the threat of white supremacy. They managed to lull you asleep as they pushed their open borders agenda without you even realizing what was happening right before your very eyes.
We have a responsibility to make sure that families who are seeking love and support here in the city of Chicago and throughout the state of Illinois, that they are not just welcome, but they are serviced.
Well, now that these illegal migrants are literally in your backyard, now you want to be outraged and demand that something be done? Here's the thing, and I am telling you this because I actually care about black people. You had the power all along, but you chose to squander and relinquish your power because you let the idolatry of melanin worship cloud your judgment. You got played by your own people and you trusted them because you thought that having representation was the most important thing. I cannot tell you how many times I've been called a coon or a bedwench simply because I refuse to identify with democratic liberalism. I don't mind the name calling. If I had grown up in the South, I'd probably eat coons for breakfast. So being called one doesn't damage my ego or hurt my feelings one bit. But now you're sitting here with egg on your face, wondering when Massa Joe and Auntie Kamala are gonna come and save you. And for me, it was well worth the name calling, being blocked on Facebook and ostracized and castigated even by those who share my DNA. I watched you wear your cute little chucks and your gorgeous pearls as the Indian Jamaican hybrid who only identifies as black so that it makes you feel proud was sworn into the White House as the first. Yes, we know, the first. I know she checks many intersectionality boxes, so many that I've lost count. We get it. But Miss Kamala is supposed to be the border czar. You know, the one in charge of the border. Where is she? Have you seen her? Huh? Tell me, have you seen her? Does she hear your cries in the wilderness as your communities get invaded and decimated by strangers? Is she even listening as you explain how your veterans are neglected and being put out on the street, or how your loved ones are losing their jobs to make way for cheap labor by individuals who don't even speak the language? No, she ain't listening. Just like she used Willie Brown for her own selfish ambition, she and other members of the Afrostocracy are using you. They always use you. But when people like me tried to warn you and tell you this, we were the bad guys. We were the traitors to our race. Well, listen. First of all, I'm gonna calm down. But honestly, there is no use in crying over the spilled milk. We're here now. Actually, the illegal migrants, they are here now. The question is, are you going to own the power that you've always had and finally dare to do something different? Or are you going to do what you always do and get sucked into the mindless rhetoric and allow these political pimps to pull on your marionette strings and make you hop and skip along chasing a nameless, faceless boogeyman that ain't even thinking about you? Or are you going to stand up like the Americans that you are, drop this hyphenated foolishness that separates you from the broader conversation, and assert yourself and stand in the freedom that your forefathers fought and suffered for? The choice, my friend, is yours. You've been had this power. You just keep giving it away to people who think that by looking like you, they are actually for you.
We have a responsibility to make sure that families who are seeking love and support here in the city of Chicago and throughout the state of Illinois, that they are not just welcome, but they are serviced.
That's right.
You've never accepted the fact that you are free. You've never fully assimilated and accepted that being an American, because running in the Victim Olympics promised you a gold shiny medal that has no value at all. See, that's where you messed up. That right there is where you messed up. But no worries. Auntie April is here to rub on your back and let you cry and let it out. It is okay. Because what I've realized, the longer I stay alive, that some lessons must be learned by having to go through the actual pain. And I get it. I do get it. Listen, I was once asleep too. I blindly went along with the Democratic leftist agenda. I used to idolize my skin color because I actually believed that there was some sort of intrinsic value in obsessing over it. But then something happened. Something radically happened to me that can only be explained as supernatural. I was born again. No, not that I went to a church, raised my hand, and joined a church. No, I was born from above. The God of the universe did a work in my heart that you couldn't physically see, meaning I don't have the scars from the heart transplant that took place. You cannot run your hands across my chest and say, yes, that's it. That's where the transplant took place. But the evidence of a changed life, a renewed mind, that you could definitely see. I started examining the world with a new set of eyes, spiritual eyes. I started to say, wait a minute, babies are created in the image of God, and we don't get the right to murder these image bearers just because they're inconvenient. I started to see that all babies matter, but our Black babies are truly in a crisis. And then I said to myself, wow, abortion is sin. It is murder. I then started to realize that loving my neighbor meant that I am supposed to care for the poor, the orphaned, and the widow, but my charity towards them should not come in the form of government coercion or compulsion, but rather it should flow from a generous and giving heart. Taking money from these people and just handing it over to these people, that is theft. Being regenerated helped me to realize and see that socialism is theft. And let's talk about theft for a moment. We can't even have nice things because the crime is out of control. We all know Walmart is closing because they can't seem to stop Lil Mike from snatching product that he has not paid for. And I know this is a hard word for some. And at this point, cognitive dissonance has already begun, and many of you may have already clicked out. But guess what? For those of you who are left, I need you to sit back, grab your favorite beverage, because we're going to get into it. All of this and more on the Standard of Truth podcast. Well, hello, grace and peace, everybody. It's your girl, April Chapman, here with the Standard of Truth podcast. I'm trying something a little different this evening. I have rearranged the set. My husband had this bright idea. He was out and he saw a piece. Well, listen, we do furniture. So if we see something and we like, it's a good fit, we're going to bring it in. So I have reorganized the set and kind of changed my camera angle just a little bit to switch things up and to just free myself from all the encumbrances that were around me. Now, my feet are still swinging, right? We still haven't solved the problem of the chair height in relationship to the desk ratio. So I don't know what we're gonna do about that, but hey, I'm as high as I can be. I'm sitting on a pillow and the chair is jacked up as high as it can. It is what it is. Little people problems. But I am so glad to be with you guys this evening because we have a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about. You know, sometimes when you're in a family, right? And you have to have one of those in-house, in-family meetings where you have to just call your people to the carpet, not in an effort to shame is good. Shame is one of those emotions that sometimes you need to feel shame so you can understand the weight and the gravity of what you've done. But it is done with love. It's done with love because deep down inside, you know that your family member, if they could just open their eyes and see the truth right in front of them, you're like, I know they would grab it, right? So that's what this live stream is. This live stream is it's a lot of smoke. Yes, it is. It is going to be a lot of smoke. But the smoke, when the dust settles, when the embers simmer down, you will find that I am genuinely coming from a place of love. Because one, love warms, love warns, and it doesn't want to see harm done to the object of the love. So if I'm saying I love my people, y'all frustrate me and get on my nerves, but I love you, this is why we have to have these difficult conversations. So if you have not done so already, please like this video. Like this video, continue to engage with it. YouTube has been quite disrespectful lately in terms of messing with the algorithm. I have spoken to so many of my faithful Christian content creators, and a lot of this Christian content is being actively suppressed. So what that means is that we are on a platform that is adversarial to our message. So we have to work twice as hard to get our message out in an effort to show up in more people's news feeds as content worth watching. And the best way that you can help me fight the algorithm is to hit the like button. It is a signal that lets YouTube know that this content is valuable and needs to be in rotation. So now that I've gotten that out the way, you have seen the show title, Are Black People Waking Up? Like, are we at a point where people are saying, something is wrong. I've been asleep. Perhaps I need to be paying closer attention. Y'all, give me one quick second. The Chapman clan is very, very loud, and I don't know where my one flesh partner is. And so I need him to tell the children to be quiet. When your kids do something wrong, they're not your kids no more. They're the other ones. So it's like, can you please have your children quiet down? Now I hear him. He's like, hey, your mama's on the live stream. Anyway, all right. So on the thumbnail, you guys saw where in the title of the video, I talked about Afrostocracy, hypocrisy. And so I want to start out the show by first, definitions are important. So I need to define for you what I mean and who I'm talking about when I talk about the Afrostocracy. So the Afrostocracy composes of 5 segments of people within our culture, the Black culture. If you are from another ethnicity, I am not excluding you, but the name Afrostocracy kind of lends meaning that it has something to do with the Black American culture. So you are welcome here. This is not a conversation that excludes you, but I have to expose this, and I've done it in previous shows, but I need to define what I mean when I talk about the Afrostocracy, right? So those are the preachers, the performers, the pundits, the professors, and the politicians. Those 5 sphere of influences represent the Black elite of American society they have certain characteristics and things and attributes that they do that are actually detrimental to the progress of the Black American population in America, such as they perpetually wield and exert power of other Black people by selling them victimhood, keeping them perpetually grieved, and never offering any viable solutions. So they keep you kind of dependent on them in their message because they're constantly showing you, hey, see how much of a victim you are? Oh, woe is me. Oh, poor Black person. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you all that's wrong. And it's not us, it's those people over there that are doing all those mean and nasty things to you. Let's go ahead and get them, right? That's what the Afrosticians do. They amass wealth because there has to be a money component to this, right? They amass wealth, status, and prominence off the plight and perpetual oppression of their own people under the guise of help and solidarity, right? Power to the people, Black Lives Matter, things like that. When you think of the Afrostician, think the race hustler, right? Think the faux pro blackity blacks, right? Those are members or an archetype of the Afrostocracy, right? And the reason why we're going to discuss the Afrostocracy tonight, because we need to discuss the hypocrisy of the Afrostocracy, right? These people are the ones that say one thing in public, but they function and move in the world completely different the way they do in private, right? So those are the ones that want to be altruistic and champion that, we should have open borders and that people should just be able to come here. And like you heard Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson say, the ones who are coming for love and support, we need to be there for them, right? So they'll say that. That is the public opinion that they have on that particular issue. However, they never advocate for those people to come into their gated communities where they live and work and play. They just want you open up your arms and welcome them in, right? But see, they live behind the gates, the gated houses with the security guards, right? That's where they live. They have no intention on saying, I've got 5 extra bedrooms. Let me take some migrants in. It's rules for thee, but not for me, right? They also, so we mentioned that they advocate for open borders, appearing to be altruistic and humanitarian, but they would never advocate for illegal immigrants to live, play, and work in their neighborhoods, right? So, for example, the Cori Bushes of the world, who she wants the defund the police campaign to just go full steam ahead. However, she has personal security that has firearms. And because, it's hard being a Black woman, and Black women, we're not safe. So Miss Cori Bush, I need security, but you You know, we don't want police in your community because the policing that is done is harmful to Black people. Do you see the Afrostocracy, hypocrisy kind of? Am I making it plain for you? Am I painting a good word picture for you? Okay, next, the faux pro-Blacks who talk about how much they love and support and want Black people to thrive, right? They're always talking about that. However, they champion ideals, policies, and agendas that do the opposite. Let me give you some examples. These are hands down 100% are pro baby murder. Pro baby murder. They want more babies. They want access to more. No, we don't need a viable, thriving Black community where we are talking family values and raising our children. No. They don't want that. They want to have as many Planned Parenthoods in your community as possible. They want to make it so easily accessible that your babies never have a fighting chance to live and become. No, they are pro baby murder, hands down. Without distinction, even up until the baby may have taken their first breath and they're out the womb. Yes, let's kill them then too. Yes, this is very inflammatory, wicked language, but these are the positions of your Afrosticians. So why not talk about it, right? They are pro gun control, right? They forget the fact that we're Americans and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights should apply to us too. No, they don't want you to be able to defend yourself because guns are bad, not the fact that they're lawless policies which give room for violent crime and violent criminals to proliferate because you got the defund the police agenda. No, you don't need no guns. You don't need no guns because guns are the problem. Mind you, they have armed security guards. They want security details. They want to make sure their homes are safe and protected, but not yours. You're too stupid to be able to know how to go and get trained on how to handle a firearm. No, that's not good for you. You need us to tell you that we need more stronger gun laws, right? Like the ones in Chicago, the city that's got some of the worst crime in this country. Yes, we need more gun control laws like that city has. Let's move right along. The Afrostocracy, they are anti-school choice. They want your kids to stay in a horrible, underperforming or non-performing, low-performing school while they send their children to private school. Absolutely. Their children are going to get the best education, but not you. No, we can't afford to let your child go to a charter school or let that money follow your child to the private school of your choice, or let that money follow you and you can use it for a homeschool curriculum for your child. No, your child must stay in this school and have to deal with the bullying and the LGBTQIA, element of P, XYZ agenda. Absolutely no. You don't get the freedom or flexibility to be able to know how to best educate your child because your child belongs to all of us. I've actually heard them say that, well, who is it? Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, the little girl with the frizzy hair. Yes, her. She said that your children are not your own. No, your children belong to all of us. Y'all thought I was joking when I said that the government thinks that it is God. They really believe that they are God and they have full control and reign over your children. So no, school choice, you will never see them advocating for school choice. You will never see them saying, hey, maybe these schools are bad and we should have school choice so that the schools can compete. They can't do that. Why? Because they get money from the teachers union. And if the teachers union is as powerful as they are, says absolutely not, nope, we're not going to compete. We're not going to attempt to clean up these schools. We're just going to keep passing on these children who aren't learning. We're going to let them graduate, right? But they don't know nothing. We're not going to do that. Why? Because the teachers union is padding the pockets of the politicians and everybody else. It's just one big mess. They don't tell the truth about what's really going on in our communities. Nope, they don't do that. They will lie and say, peace. There's nothing to see here. This is just a summer of love. They're just blowing off some steam. They're just being kids. There's nothing to see here. They know that chaos is ever present. They know that these communities are riddled with so much crime that people are being murdered senselessly at the hands of violent criminals who are multiple repeat offenders, but they're not interested in doing anything about it. No, they actually demonize the police. They would like you to believe that we just know we don't want to defund the police. We just want to kind of reform the way the police and improve that. No, not after their inflammatory language decimated the relationship that communities had with police. Now that relationship is so fractured. You got mass flight. You had the mass exodus. People retiring early from the police force because they're like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not about to put my life on the line to protect and serve, only to be afraid that if I remotely, not even legitimately make a misstep, I'm going to be vilified by the media, who is also, they're an arm. You've got actually members of the Afrostocracy in media. Those are like your Joy Reids, your Whoopi Goldbergs, your Sunny Hostins, those individuals like that, Jamel Hills, that's your Afrostocracy gatekeeping. They do the bidding, right? They do the bidding of the global elites, and they say what they want them to say. That's your Roland Martins. He is king, ace, king. I'm not going to get into Roland right now because that's a whole nother show. But let's talk about what else the Afrostocracy does, right? They convince you that you truly are a victim and that it is not, a series of bad or miscalculated choices that have placed you in the position that you are. No, they want you to be perpetually upset and angry, so much so I'm talking like with hatred in your heart for people who don't look like you. Because if they can keep the attention off of them and place it over there, you won't even be paying attention to how much wealth they've amassed when they're either in office or holding these positions in media, the performers. I would even throw the athletes in there. They tell them what to say and they incite outrage. It ain't even legitimate. They don't even be having all the facts. They just say it. And they know just on the basis of a shared ethnic image alone that you're going to believe it and you're going to run with it straight down to your own destruction. Absolutely. They love to implicate the white man. Yes, we're still looking for all of these white men that are causing so much destruction in the Black community. But for some reason, we can't ever seem to find them. We don't know their names, how tall they are, what color hair they have, what's their build. I don't know. We're still looking for them. But it doesn't matter if as long as we can say we're still looking for them, that's all that matters. But they love to implicate the white man, stirring up hatred in your heart. That is, when you think about it, when you sit and just say, you know what, when was the last time that the white man, like I could name him and say, this is what he did to me, and this is the injury that I sustained as a result of their action. You're like, I can't name any because it's not happening. So much so they even have to manufacture. They have to manufacture hate crimes like your Juicy Smollet's. Yes, he's part of the Afrostocracy. And then when they get found out, they'll just shield one another from accountability and they will ride that lie till the wheels fall off, and then a couple of miles a little further, he is still saying that he was innocent after it's been legitimately verified that he wasn't. But why do you think they did that? They need a boogeyman. They need some sort of figment of the imagination to keep you enraged while their agenda on the back end is being pushed so that you don't even know what's happening. Did I mention that they were obsessed with race? Did I mention it's no longer we are smart. We are a resilient people. We can do anything we put our minds to if given the opportunity. It is not that anymore. It is you must give it to us on the sole basis that we are Black. No, we're not interested in earning it. We're not interested in competing. You just need to do it because we're Black. So it incites a sense of entitlement on the basis of nothing, and it elicits a form of just pride and arrogance, and you walk around thinking that your boo-boo don't stink and that you should have because you deserve. Forget showing your work and being treated like an image bearer just on the mere basis that you're human. They want to add some intrinsic value on top of the fact that you're an image bearer just because you got a little bit more melanin. And so you just walk around demanding things, right? You start like, for example, there was a story that was recently put out about a physician's assistant who got into an altercation with like 5 young Black men, a pregnant woman, over a bike. One of those bikes where you scan the QR code. If you live in an urban area, you might know what I'm talking about. But you scan the QR code and it allows you to rent the bike. And race baiting hustler pimp number 1, what's his name? Rashad Ritchie. They're actually facing a defamation lawsuit as we speak, because without knowing any of the facts, just because it was a white woman and 5 men, they assumed that it was racially motivated, and they caused this woman, they said so many horrible things about her that her job is in jeopardy. They called her, of course, a Karen, a racist, all of these other disparaging names, to where she's getting death threats. Mind you, now that the real facts have come out, that she actually had bona fide evidence that that bike was hers, he wants to backtrack and say, you know, we just need to be a little bit more careful and discerning. But at the time you assumed that it was racially motivated, and you castigated that woman because you got hatred in your heart, and you're paid to incite anger and more hatred amongst the rest of the Black population on the basis of race, because that's what you get paid to do. So they would never, ever, ever support reforming the child support system. Nope. They're not interested in that. I do intend to do a show about the family court system and our current child support system, but you'll never see any of the Afrostocracy politicians, performers, definitely not the preachers, advocating and saying, you know, we might need to revisit our current child support system because the Black family is severely broken and disjointed. The child support system does adversely affect us. Not that it doesn't affect others in the same way, but with us, because we have such a high incidence of single motherhood, it just hits a little different in our community, right? They would never discuss reforming that system. They like it nice and broken because they know if they can keep Black men and Black women constantly fighting and at odds with one another versus promoting Black families, marriage, nuclear families, they're not going to advocate any of that like that. So they like having the family court system, and they absolutely love having the child support system broken, unfair, and unbalanced, because they know that if we can weaponize this system, we'll be, they claim, the high incarceration rates of Black men is, they claim to care about that, but they don't. They really don't. It's one big web or interconnected circle. Like, all of these things interconnect, right? So the prison reform, the child support system, the nuclear family, like the school to prison pipeline, they're all behind all of that. But they like to point out there at the boogeyman and say it's their fault when they're the ones that actually perpetuate it. Okay. So that leads me to my next point. They're anti-family, not in word, but in practice and function, right? So the reason why I say that is because every now and again, they'll point out and kind of celebrate, a distinguished Black couple because, they stayed together and they want to, just make a big deal about that. But they're not programming our young people to see healthy nuclear families as normal. Why? Because they like to promote the village. They want you to believe that no, you don't have autonomy and authority over your children. You got to include the village, and knowing that the village comes with their own worldview and their own set of standards and morals. So this is why I say they are anti-family, right? They also purposely align themselves with sexual perversion. They are quick to promote, and I was shocked at this because historically, Black people, we have always looked at the sexual immorality or the sexual perversion of same-sex relationships as, it's not necessarily something that we didn't participate in, but it was definitely something that we did not glorify and put out on the world to display. But here's the hypocrisy, right? You would see it in our churches, right? Minister of music, y'all know what I'm talking about, James Cleveland, so forth and so on. And we knew it existed, but it was like, don't ask, don't tell. We know that we know, but we were definitely not trying to purposely expose our children to it. And I'm not making excuses and saying that this is right. I'm just telling you historically how it was. We knew that it was wrong, and we knew that there was no way you could normalize it and convince us that it wasn't wrong. But the Afrosticians, particularly your Al Sharptons and people like that, particularly the ones in the media and in the political sphere, you notice that they start echoing that talking point. They start, all of a sudden, now it's okay. What used to be taboo culturally for us, it's now okay. And now there's no stopgap or any sort of gate put in between that sexual perversion and our children. They are silent. They don't ever talk about protecting our children. They know that the agenda that's being pushed in these schools, and in fact, they can't speak out about it. Why? Because then that means that they wouldn't have been able to champion the Black Lives Matter movement. Why? Because Black Lives Matter was started by 3 lesbians, right? So you hitched your wagon to the sexual perversion thinking that you would just, I'm supporting my people, power to the people. That's what you thought. But what you didn't realize, and now you put yourself in a compromising situation. Now you're in a pickle. What you gonna do? If Black lives really matter and you're gonna support that cause, it came with the sexual perversion. So now you can't even really speak out about it without looking like a hypocrite. But when I tried to warn you and say this ain't the cause you want to hit your wagon to, here come the names. You bootlicking Uncle Tom. And I'm like, people online, they say stuff like that because if they were in my presence, they wouldn't say it in my face because they're not crazy. Now they think that they might realize that I'm a little crazy, but they're not gonna say stuff like that to my face. So they say it online because they can shield and hide behind a keyboard, but I ain't seen nobody pull up in the A calling me something crazy like that. I just put that out there. Okay, so they don't celebrate the best of us. What do I mean by that? We are applauded and celebrated, and we are given the royal red carpet treatment. But there's only certain criteria. You got to meet a certain criteria for that to happen, right? If you succumb to a tragic circumstance, like the police choke you out or something like that, it has to involve a white person. They're not going to celebrate the many brilliant young men and young women that are working hard and going to law school and becoming doctors and engineers and just doing great things. No, you only get the royal red carpet treatment, and you get like the top of the line funeral. You have to be a miscreant. You got to be a criminal. Like, you got to be way down there to get celebrated, to where you get the funeral processional and all of the political operatives in the community. They come out and they speak at your funeral. Yes. But if you're somebody like a young female police officer, 24 years old, beautiful with bright future ahead, you don't get those kinds of funerals. Nope. You don't even get acknowledgement on the mainstream the news media, like the black outlets, those news outlets. No, they don't talk about the Ariana Prestons. No, people like that, Ariana Preston, David Dorn, like actual heroes, people that are in the trenches, giving back to their community, protecting and serving the most vulnerable us. No, you don't even know their names, and Al Sharpton ain't coming to your funeral, right? And I'm gonna tell you, there's a reason why. Black lives only have value to the Afrosticians when the return on investment is high enough for them to cash in. So they're gonna look at it like, okay, Ben Crump, Al Sharpton, and all the rest of them, they kind of gauge like, no white person involved, like there's no racial component. They just died under an unfortunate circumstance. A black person did it. I'm not gonna be able to. I can't participate in that. They're not gonna participate in that. They don't care. Furthermore, let's talk a little bit about the black pastors. More than any one of these groups, this group, the black pastors, should be the most ashamed. And they should be ashamed because, to me, they are worse than all of the other ones, because they're supposed to be shining light in dark places. And hear me clearly, when I talk about black pastors, if you know me, you know some of my best friends, my closest brothers in the Lord are black pastors, and they know I'm not talking about them. And my regularly listening audience should know I'm not talking about them either, because I regularly celebrate the faithful shepherds, the faithful men of God that are holding the line. I am talking about the ones in the visible church, the ones whose names are always plastered in bright lights. They can't speak about any of this. They have to go along with this agenda. And how do we know? They may privately think something different, but how do we know that they're going along with this agenda? Because they literally invite this agenda into their pulpits and into their churches to address you, to convince you that it is a godly thing to vote for a Raphael Warnock or Stacey Abrams or Kamala Harris. Absolutely. They take big money from the DNC to let these fake false gospel pimps open up their pulpits, and they let these people come in, and they get to champion their wicked ideologies that are harmful to the black community, and they collect a check. That's what they do. They are silent. They're supposed to be the countercultural voice. They're supposed to be the lone ranger that stands alone when nobody else is standing. The preacher is supposed to stand alone. He is supposed to be the one that can't be bought, right? Am I right? But no. Instead of echoing what thus saith the Lord, they will echo and stand arm in arm with the world. They sure will. And then they'll take your money and ride all the way to the bank. How do we know this? Like I said, they invite this wickedness into their pulpits in order to garner your support, right? And even if you were to call a meeting with the pastor, say, "Hey, pastor, I know you had such and so and so." Well, first of all, if you're lucky enough to even get them to talk to you, because getting a meeting with a lot of these pastors just doesn't happen. But if you were to go to say, "Listen, I am compelled by scripture to respectfully, I need to have this conversation with you because I need to understand, why would you allow this individual to come to our church and address our parishioners, knowing that they have a stance on the life issue that is anti-God and it is wicked? Why would you do that?" And then watch them fumble the ball and start stuttering because they don't have a biblical defense. We've heard a few of them try to wiggle their way around and say, "Well, for me, I wouldn't do it, but I can't tell you." So now you can't tell me how to live. How do you preach a sermon? How do you exegete scripture if you can't open up the text and tell me what it says, but all of a sudden you can't echo what scripture says because the price was right, right? These black preachers, they're the most wicked because they are silent on the sexual perversion of our children, and they won't say anything about the LGBTQIA agenda because they've provided shelter and a safe haven for LGBTQ. See, I'm getting tongue-tied, just too many letters, right? They've provided shelter by way of their own music departments. They know who these people are, and it's okay for him to flame on Sunday as long as he got the choir rocking and singing real good for you. As long as they can do that, you'll pimp them and use them for their gifting, but you won't preach the gospel of repentance to them and walk alongside them and labor and say, "Listen, this should not be named among us. It's unlawful. We are believers. You don't get to come to Christ and keep your sin." They don't even use the word sin. So you can just forget that. So, y'all still with me? All right. Let's keep going. The question we need to explore now is, how did we get here? How did we get to the point? Now that I've given you, I went deep. That was a whole show on the Afrostocracy, and it wasn't meant to be that, right? But I needed to explain it that way because you needed to understand. Now that you understand how the Afrostocracy moves and operates, it will help you understand how we got here to this migrant crisis. I know you're like, "Oh, we are talking about the migrant crisis." Yes, we're talking about the migrant crisis. So this is how we got here, right? The question, though, is, how did the migrant crisis get to where now Black folks are out here saying, "Now, wait a minute. Okay, what you mean? They're coming to our neighborhoods?" I need to set the stage. So let me be clear about my stance on immigration, right? People have always desired to come to America. I come from a family of immigrants. My paternal side of the family, I am literally just the second generation that was born here. My grandmother and grandfather were not from here. My grandmother was from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and my grandfather, well, it was U.S.-owned territory. I don't know if it was the British side or the U.S. side, but from St. Thomas, right? So we're Caribbean. They came here on a boat in the 20s, but technically technically they came here the right way, right? So I believe in immigration because I think America would not be what it is, like the beautiful melting pot that it is. I'm from New York City. All I know is Ellis Island. All I know is Spanish Harlem, Chinatown, Little Italy. Like, that's the context from which I come. So I'm able to appreciate the different ethnicities and how we blend together, and you get to taste it. My husband, he's always confused because he like, can we eat some American food? Because I want oxtails, I want rice and peas, I want arroz con pollo, I want empanada. I mean, I always want Korean barbecue. I always want something different from a different ethnicity. And he's from the South. So he's like, listen, I don't even know how to say that. Can I just get some chicken? Can I just get, like, he just wants to keep it simple. But my children, I expose them to these other cultures because that's what I'm used to. So when I talk about immigration, let's be clear. I love my international brothers and sisters because I recognize the beauty that this country is. It is an amazing opportunity for those who want to come here and like, listen, I will come with the coat on my back and a suitcase, and I can guarantee you I'm going to kill the game when I get there. I want you here. We need you here. You guys are the ones that are willing to compete and do the things that we should be doing, and I applaud those efforts, right? America's great. America is full of opportunity, right? Everyone else can see it. My African brothers can see it. Asians can see it. Indians can see it. Everyone else can see how America is so full of opportunity, except for native-born Black Americans, right? Everybody else want to taste of that opportunity. They will scratch through a fence and climb a wall and risk their life, walk through the desert with one jug of water, and that's it on their person, just to put their feet on American soil. So why is it that they can see America for the land of the opportunity that it is, and we squander and are ungrateful for the fact that we were born here, our forefathers were brought here and were enslaved here and did everything. They were slaves. We're now free, and we don't even know how to take advantage of the fact that we were born here. So we've turned the native Black American person, for whatever reason, because of the mindset, we've been turned into these infantile, helpless people group that has abandoned God, our morals, and our values in exchange for Satan's agenda. I'm not going to apologize for that statement. I stand behind it with all the breath that is in me. I truly believe that. We were born here to be grateful to be in one of the greatest nations that has ever flourished. And we've turned ourselves, or we've allowed these Afrostocracy people manipulate us and turn us into infantile, helpless people that have abandoned God, abandoned our morals, and in exchange have adopted Satan's wicked agenda. The God of this world has blinded our eyes, and we actually need to be actively evangelized. Like, we need some missionaries to come over to us and preach the gospel in our communities. That's how bad things are for us. So, because we've gotten to the point that that's where we are, we've been lulled asleep by this agenda and these people who look like us, who champion ideals and policies that are not for us. Now we find ourselves in a situation that it's different than people coming here the right way. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that's just strolling right on in, that are being bussed and put into our communities by the thousands, right? This is how we got here. The Democratic Party, for once, is actually doing what they said they were going to do. This is what they promised. This is what they campaigned on. And this is what they told you they were going to do. And you heard it and you thought they were playing and you voted for them anyway. And now we're here. Remember, the DNC, the liberals, they like to play on words a lot, right? So they kept saying, and you'll hear when they refer to this situation as those who are seeking asylum, right? They never use the English language in good faith and to speak the truth. They say those who are seeking asylum, and they lump all the illegal migrants together under the assumption that, well, they're just seeking asylum, right? They campaigned and they pushed for this, and they themselves, they declared their cities as sanctuary cities. And what's happening now is their false piety and their false altruistic humanitarian efforts. It's now coming back to bite you. And who is suffering the most? Say it with me. Okay, Black people. Right. So I'm going to play a clip. So you can hear it in their own words, right? I'm going to hear it in their own words. Give me 1 second.
Became the safest big city in America. And we're not going to undermine the progress the NYPD has made over a quarter century. The spirit of this executive order runs contrary to our character and our values as a city, and I would argue it runs contrary to the character and values of the United States. Now, as we've looked at the executive order just in the last hour or two, we do want to let the people of New York City know that there is less here than meets the eye. This executive order is written in a very vague fashion. We believe that not only will it be susceptible to many legal challenges, but that it will meet with tremendous public resistance all over the nation. President Trump issued an executive order today, and its purported purpose was to enhance public safety. But here in New York City and in cities across this nation, this executive order could in fact undermine public safety and make our neighborhoods less safe. Firstly, because this executive order could undermine the relationship between our police department and our communities, which has been the foundation of our ability to drive down crime. Second, because the potential funding cuts suggested in the executive order would first and foremost fall on the NYPD, thus taking away resources that we use every day to protect the people of this city against crime and against terrorism. So the executive order on its face contradicts its stated purpose. And again, this is true here in New York City and will be true in cities all over the country. There are hundreds of cities that work with their immigrant populations, including their undocumented immigrants. Here in this city, a community numbering almost 500,000 people. Hundreds of American cities where this executive order could undermine public safety, create a rift and a disconnect between police departments and those they serve, and take away funding from law enforcement. That's the potential magnitude of what we face here. But at the same time, it is important to understand that in New York City, this executive order does not change who we are or how we will go about doing our work. The stroke of a pen in Washington does not change the people of New York City or our values, does not change how this city government protects its people. Executive order will not change how we enforce the law in New York City or how we do business on behalf of the people, all 8.5 million New Yorkers. This is a city of immigrants. We always have been for almost 400 years. This is our fundamental nature. You look at all those gathered around me, I want to thank all the leaders of this administration and other key partners who have gathered here. And if you look at this group of New Yorkers, we represent nations all over the globe in terms of the backgrounds of our families. This is a picture of the immigrant experience right here before you. It's also a picture of a city that works and a city that respects all people, tries to include everyone and respect their rights. This is the American dream right before your eyes, and we are not going to allow it to be undermined. We're going to defend all of our people, regardless of where they come from and regardless of their documentation status. We are also proud of the fact that New York City is the safest big city in America. It's because of the extraordinary work of the men and women of the NYPD, but it's also because of the work of so many partners and communities all over the city who help the NYPD in its work, who trust the NYPD, who provide information and support to the NYPD, who help our officers to stay safe. We're a city in which people, regardless of documentation status, know they can report a crime, or if they're a victim of a crime, can come forward, witness to a crime, they can come forward and know that information will be used to keep us all safe, but it will not be used to deport them. That fundamental compact that goes back in this city decades through Democratic, Republican, and independent administrations here in New York City is one of the reasons why we became the safest big city in America.
I want you, this is why listening is so important and having a thorough command of the English language matters, because if you are not listening carefully, you'll be like, oh, how thoughtful of him, right? But listen to how he keeps referring. They always refer to the illegal immigrants, right? Or they'll say the undocumented or regardless of documented status. At one point, it sounded like he was advocating that, you know, these illegal immigrants are part of our Crime Stoppers unit, right? Like, because, you know, we need them to be able to report crime, and they need to be able to do so without fear of deportation. Hello? They themselves here illegally is the crime, sir. Like, when you listen to them speak, you just like, is liberalism a disease? Like, is it eating away at your brain? I don't understand it. They conflate things, right? What they want to do is appear like they're just this open heart and we just love everybody and everyone can come and everyone is respected, without recognizing that we are a nation of laws, right? Like, my grandfather and grandmother didn't just get to show up, be like, here I am, let me in. There was a process. Like, we need to know, who are you? Where do you come from? Why are you here? What value are you going to add? Like, what is the goal? There needs to be some sort of process. You cannot just indiscriminately let random people in. Why? Because you don't even treat your house that way. When someone just comes to your door demanding to be let in, do you just let them in? Or you like, whoa, wait a minute. Who sent you? Where are you coming from? I don't know you. Can you introduce yourself to me? Something. But no, they just want you to be like, well, I guess, you know, we should just let them in just because, you know, they helping fight crime. Like, that doesn't even make sense. That is stupid. But now listen, to be fair, that is an old clip. That is 6 years old. And I showed that to demonstrate to you that they campaigned on this. They've been promoting and supporting an open borders agenda for a very long time. Very long time. And what you need to understand is what you see happening in communities such as Chicago and in New York. California's been dealing with it. Arizona, places like that. What they're dealing with now, this is the outcome of a porous border policy and declaring your city a sanctuary city, right? So, first of all, let's just let the record show that man is the worst thing that ever happened to New York City. New York City has not been the same since. I don't know if that city will ever recover from such wicked, demonic, horrible leadership. These people don't lead well. They're not just rulers. Like, hear me clearly. My position on politics is not you need to be a Christian to lead. No, you need to just be a just ruler. And I don't necessarily believe that you need to be filled with the Holy Ghost to enact proper justice. We see it in scripture. A good ruler is just a just ruler, someone who's just gonna be fair and be just. This type of leadership is unjust, because how do you refuse to care for your people that's already here and then just want to open the floodgates for any and everybody to come in without any standards or requirements under the guise of, everybody's welcome here. We've always been a city of immigrants. Yes, that is true, but tell the whole story. That is not how it worked. You didn't just get to come in just because you wanted to and just show up. It doesn't work that way. We needed to be able to know who you are, especially if you're traveling with children. So I'm going to play another clip to further solidify and cement how we ended up here, to see if are Black people waking up, or is this the time to wake up, or if it's too late. Let me play this other clip. Almost there. Sorry. Hold on.
Well, he said in the very first debate, well, I don't want someone to yell at me. Okay, here we go. I don't have my glasses on. In the first Democratic primary debate, Biden says when he's president, illegal immigrants should immediately, this is quote, immediately surge to the border. I could play the video if you want. Okay, you trust me? All right. I'll send it to you. So if I may ask a question back. If you were that Honduras family and you're reading this, and the person running for president said, you should immediately surge to the border. He wins the presidency, and what's the first thing he does? He says, I'm going to make 11 million illegal immigrants citizens. The Democrats put on the floor today, before, and changes the Dreamers bill to not that you had to be here before, but just by January, that he removes remaining in Mexico policy, he removes the PACER policy, he stops the building of the wall. He questions whether to keep Title 42. That's why you put your whole family together and make this trek, because you just listened to what President Biden said. No law has changed by moving of Congress. This entire crisis is created simply by Joe Biden's actions and words. And when I watched him on Stephanopoulos the other night, finally said, well no, don't come. His own administration, his secretary said, we're saying don't come, not to come, but just come later. He's still telling you to come. He's created this crisis that he won't acknowledge, that he won't even go visit to see, and now he's denying press from even to watch or see what's happening in the border stations. These border agents are spread so thin. That 1.9 trillion had no money to help them. While I was going through this brand new processing facility that's 98,000 square feet, that had just hit capacity that they never thought would happen, they're taking their parking lot and now they're putting up tents. And they're taking their operational money to do it. And they're removing agents from the border that they're trying to protect, where the wall has stopped being built, from people coming over to care for these individuals. And the president denies the right to even go there, and denies the right of press to even cover it. And he said in his own words, while he was running for president in a presidential campaign, illegal immigrants should surge the border. That's exactly what's happening, and that's why.
So now you know how we got here. They campaigned on this. and they see those migrants as their next voting bloc, their next loyal voting bloc. You see, we've been historically very loyal. We know, I saw someone in the chat say, in 2024 they're probably going to vote Democrat with, getting nothing in return. We're so used to the abuse, right? It's like being in a abusive relationship. He keeps saying he not gonna hit you no more, and you be like, okay, and then in 2 weeks later he done punched you and knock you upside the head again, and you was just like, I thought you said you weren't gonna do it no more. Like, it's the same thing. It is the same thing. These people, for once, they actually told you what the plan was, what their intention was, what they were going to do. And which almost never happens, they actually made good on a campaign promise. We thought fat meat wasn't greasy. That's what happened. They told you flat out where they stood on the border. When our former president tried to build a wall, we were told that that was racist. And you're just putting kids in cages and building walls. I wonder if you interviewed all those Black people in that press conference and at that school board meeting and at that in front of that I played in my opening monologue. I asked them if they'd want a wall now and see how they feel. Ask those in Texans, the Arizonians, the Californians, all my New York family, the ones who are actually now actively complaining. The wall don't sound so bad. Now do it. Texans, Arizonans, and Californians have been experiencing this for a very long time. That clip that I played, and that ain't even one of my favorite people. I don't even like Speaker McCarthy like that. I really don't. I think he's a compromiser. He weak, but that's just what we got. That's a 2-year-old clip. 2 years. Kamala Harris is the border czar. Like, that was her pet project. She won't go to the border. She start cackling and fumbling anytime you ask her a question about the border. And now you got to listen to Black people in New York and Chicago and DC and Baltimore, Atlanta talking about, whoa, where's all these people coming from? Why are they here? What are we supposed to do with them? What about us? It's like, well, what about you? What about you? You were too busy eulogizing criminals when all of this was happening. That's what was happening. When all that rioting in the streets was happening, and you were like, let them tear up the city because they got insurance and, because of George Floyd, this is what was happening during all of that. While we out in the street hollering Black Lives Matter, we weren't even realizing what we were aligning ourselves with when we chose to just blindly go with the program. They cloak harboring illegal immigrants as humanitarian aid. That's what they call it. It's humanitarian aid. Now, we already know in this country, we do not properly care for our veterans like we should. The men and women who serve to keep us safe and out of harm's way, so many of them are homeless and they are suffering because of a lack of proper services. We're not caring for the veterans, but we figured out a way to house illegal immigrants. We already don't care for those who are suffering with mental health challenges that were let out because all the mental health hospitals were closed down during the Obama administration. We're not caring for those people, and they're out wreaking havoc on society. We're already not figuring out what are we going to do with them, but they figured out a way to house all these illegal immigrants. We've long had a broken foster care system. We've had a broken foster care system for a very long time. We don't even take care of our own orphans, but you want us to take in some from we don't even know where they're coming from. Is that what you want me to believe? That's what we're supposed to be doing? So Let me say, or at least mention, what a healthy and viable immigration policy could look like, right? For one, we have a skilled labor shortage in this country. You have so many baby boomers who are retiring, who were the backbone of this country with skilled labor. We now have a shortage because everyone told us to go get degrees in English and in gender studies. So now all of that skilled labor is coming out of the workforce, and we have a huge deficit. We also have a manufacturing problem in the US, right? Not a lot of industries still manufacture here. One, we don't have the skill set, and two, we're over reliant on China. And so we have a manufacturing problem. If a country is not exporting and manufacturing goods, that is a huge component of your economic system. So I'm going to play one more clip that, believe it or not, explores the economic argument. What it does, it explores an economic argument for an open border, which I don't agree with. But what I do agree with is, first of all, I'll play it and then I'll explain to you the aspect of it that I do agree with that could help solve our manufacturing crisis and our skilled labor crisis. So let me go ahead and cue that up.
On a recent shoot at GE Appliances in Louisville, America is having something of a problem producing enough stuff these days. So says HR manager Valerie Hughes.
We don't have enough people to run our factories, and it's not just a GE Appliances problem. This is an industry problem. We could have a gap of 2.1 million jobs from a manufacturing standpoint by 2030.
Which is why they've established paid high school apprenticeships for kids like Gadi Nishimiyimana, recently arrived from Rwanda.
If our borders were more open, would kids like you from Rwanda come here and do the kinds of jobs that American manufacturing can use and now needs?
Absolutely. So many students back in Rwanda, they want to do the manufacturing jobs, but they don't have a way to do it because they can't come here.
Look, says Brian Kaplan.
You don't have to be Albert Einstein to be a worthy member of society, to contribute more than you actually take out. I want to let in low-skilled immigrants to be nannies and be janitors and to work in the farms. They're very useful. They do a lot of good for people like you and me.
For, let's say, the elder care that I may someday need, or the child care that many a working family needs right now.
They're a very important part of the workforce that really is propping up dual-income families, for example.
Immigrant advocate Carola Bracco.
The only way that both parents have been able to go to work is because they've had immigrants in their homes taking care of their children, and often undocumented immigrants.
Okay. So I take grave issue with that as a concept, because it implied, like, as if these people don't have the capacity to be part of our STEM fields, and like, well, let's just put them in the fields and, let them take care of your babies and, shuck your corn. Like, we need those. I showed you that to give you an idea of the mindset behind the individuals who advocate for open borders, but not for the same reason that I would say, yes, we should have immigration, but it needs to be legal and it needs to be standardized. They want open borders because it sounds like they want the next generation of slaves. That's what it sounds like. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I was listening to that and filtering that through my world view of how it sounded. But basically, last time I checked, we had daycare centers. Like, that's a small business that individuals own that provide daycare to children. But they're like, well, some families, they wouldn't be able to work unless they could call Maria to come and care for their babies. Yeah, and they want an undocumented worker so they don't have to pay her a fair wage and she can nanny their babies under the table. Like, did y'all listen? Did y'all hear that? I thought it was me. That's what it sounded like. They cut to an image of Jose in the field shucking some corn and Maria on the floor sitting with somebody's children. So why couldn't it have been, for example, there is a young lady that goes to my church who migrated here from India, and she had a small business in India. She was a seamstress. She would make clothes. She can sew and make some of the most magnificent clothing. Her purpose of coming here was to get married, which she did, and start up her small business here. Like, she's not trying to be under the table. She's like, no, I had a viable, bona fide business in my country. I want to come to America and do that. That's good. That's adding value to the marketplace. What these people want to do, it sounded like to me, I could be wrong, but they already know, well, I can pay them less. I don't have to, pay employment taxes. They won't be a W-2 employee. Like, Maria will take cash and, I'll just pay her $5 an hour and she'll take care of, Abigail and Timmy. That's what it sounded like to me. I don't know. So now that you saw the clip from former Mayor de Blasio, you saw our current Speaker McCarthy literally quoting what Joe Biden said and told these migrants to do. So that's how we got here. That's why they're pouring in, because they were told to come. Now, there was a point earlier this year where Kamala finally came out and was like, please don't come. Ma'am, it's too late. They were already en route. And now they're in the major cities, and y'all figured out a way to find them domicile. When we're dealing with an affordable housing crisis with people who were born here, the average rent here in Metro Atlanta is out the roof. You can't even afford, like, a first-time home buyer now. You're priced out the market. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So listen, America is beautiful because we are so different and we are welcoming. We should want the best of what other countries have to offer. There should be no problem with them coming here. If you want to come here and you want to teach, yay. You want to come here and be a software developer, yay. You want to come here and get your education and then go back to your native land and be a physician over there, great. Or if you want to come here, got your education over there and want to be a physician here, that's great. I love it. It's beautiful. It's what makes America great. Yes, but we need to know who you are. We need to know who you are, and we want to know why you want to be here. And we need to know when you get here, how do you plan to contribute to the welfare and well-being of the population that's already here? Because we care about Americans. You cannot just bus and ship hordes of people to one area without a plan, without money and resources. You just can't do that. Why? It attracts crime. It attracts crime. We already know about the MS-13 gangs that are coming here. Atlanta is a hub for sex trafficking. They come right through here because of Hartsfield International Airport. It is a problem. We have a sex trafficking issue. We have a drug trafficking issue. We have a guns problem. Illegal firearms pouring in, fentanyl pouring in. They lacing weed with fentanyl. I know people who smoke weed. It's like, listen, I had to quit smoking weed because I seen too many people, and I'm not even advocating for that. I'm just trying to explain to you the severity of the problem. That regular average Joe folks that smoke marijuana are trying to quit because they're like, I don't know where it came from. I just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I just don't know. This also overcrowds the schools with your tax dollars, mind you. You can't even use your school choice to move your kids to a different area because the liberals are anti-school choice. Remember, you're stuck. You're stuck in a low-performing school that's now been overcrowded with an extra 200-300 kids. Even that extra 100 kids can overburden one neighborhood school that's already overcrowded. It also creates a safe haven for bad people who desire to take advantage of situations for nefarious intent. So, like I mentioned, the sex trafficking, the prostitution, the drugs and the weapons. Why do you not realize that the human heart is depraved and wicked? If we got depraved humans on our own soil that we can't control, you want to go ahead and solicit for other humans who have the same depraved, wicked hearts, and it might be worse for all we know. We don't know. You're just going to let them come on in? Do you not really understand the depravity of man and our sinfulness and our propensity when pushed up against the wall and get desperate to do things to others for nefarious intent? The rule of law is not being maintained. It's not. And so the immigration problem, it is wreaking havoc on our cities. And now, as you can see, Black folks are mad and they are speaking up. They have property values that they're trying to preserve that are already struggling. They're like, where are you going to put all these people? Our grade schools are now housing people in gymnasiums. I did a video earlier this week where there are hotels in New York City where a family had a block of 30 rooms reserved for a wedding, and the hotel canceled all those rooms so that they could house illegal aliens. Socialism is theft. I'm sorry. This is trying to soften and warm you up to the idea of socialism and just helping everybody. And I'm finally glad to see some Black people waking up saying this is not okay. But it's not enough for you to wake up and say this is not okay. Are you still going to vote for these people? Because this is what they want. This is what they want. And I'm actually going to engage slightly with the chat. I see you, Mr. Music Man 2005. You constantly come to my channel and you don't really never have anything positive to say because you just, for some strange reason, take issue with the fact that I am always talking about liberals. You a darn skippy. I will never stop talking about liberals because liberalism is wicked. I don't know if you didn't get the memo, but I am a Christian, sir. I am a Christian. The Bible is my standard of authority. I will never take the side of people who believe it is okay to murder image bearers in the womb. I'm sorry. I will never align myself with the LGBTQIA agenda. I don't do sexual perversion. I am pro-nuclear family. I am pro-marriage between one man and one woman for life, breeding babies. That's who I am. So to come to this channel, you are welcome to be here. But to be confused and not understand why I hold the positions that I hold is confusing to me. Yes, the vast majority of this problem is because of Democrats. I can't help you if you can't see that. Yes, I have my issues with Republicans. I think Republicans are some of the most weak, spineless hypocrites known to man sometimes. But the platform does not advocate for this. I vote policy, not personality. I don't know how else I can say that to help you understand it. And I'm sorry if my content offends you. But at some point, you got to open your eyes and stop being a pawn and stop being used and whining and talking about when they do it too. We ain't talking about them. We're talking about the ones that have advocated for these open borders where my family, I have family in New York City that are suffering because of this. I have young nieces and nephews that don't feel safe now. What you want me to tell them? You want me to go find a Republican to blame? Grow up. Just grow up. Because if you can't look at this with a biblical worldview and see the writing on the walls, then I don't know what else to tell you. But you are welcome to be here. But to keep fighting against observable reality is not making me look crazy. It's making you look crazy. That's all I'm saying. And I don't mean to be uncharitable, but at some point, like, bro, like, you got to do better. You need to give me a policy from the right that I can argue. Give me a policy to argue from the right that would violate a biblical imperative, and then we can have a conversation. But until then, like, I got a whole list of them right here. A whole list right here. We can talk about jellyback compromising people on the right. Absolutely. Because the reason why abortion is not outlawed in my state right now, because I got a Republican governor who won't stand firm on what thus saith the Lord and make it a priority or make it an issue. He thinks, well, we got a little heartbeat bill. That's good enough. No, it needs to be outlawed. I have my criticism for him. But do you want me to stand and be like, oh my goodness, there's a little fire over there when there's a forest fire right here? Like, I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to discuss the truth. That's what I do. If you don't like that, perhaps I'll find you a content creator that trashes Republicans as much as your heart feels that you need to hear it. Because I don't know what else you want from me. I said what I said, and I feel how I feel, and it is what it is. It just is. And I would tell you this in person. I'm not being a keyboard warrior. I ain't typing. I'm telling you this because this is what I actually believe. This is a conviction of mine. My issue with my community is that we don't have convictions anymore. We lie down and we become like puppets for people who don't have our best interests at heart. And we don't sit and say, none of y'all own me. Give me the policy that works well, and then we can have a discussion. But we don't do that. We just vote and keep hoping for the best. Like, get a clue. So, this is going to lead into the reparations conversation that I know a lot of y'all been wanting to have. I had comments on this video before I even went live, just going in on reparations. And yes, we have what we say we gonna have. Okay, so let's talk about it. Hey, bro, what do reparations look like? Or what do reparations have to do with this migrant conversation, right? What's the connection? Because I don't want to just have an independent conversation about reparations. I need to have a conversation about reparations in light of this issue because it matters. With all these new people here, you really think you're going to get some reparations now? Do you really think that the conversation, a serious one, not a study, not just, let's come and have a seat at the table and talk about it. Do you really think a viable conversation about reparations is actually going to go anywhere now that all these migrants are here? There's no incentive to give you reparations now. Why? We've got to care for these people. They need our help. We don't have any money for reparations now because they have services that they need. We must keep them safe. We have to feed them and clothe them and shelter them. Sorry, no check for you. You got played again. Hoping and wishing and thinking that you were going to get something that they never had any intentions on giving you anyway. It's never been a real conversation. And I'm going to tell you why it ain't never been a real conversation. One, how are you going to determine who qualifies for reparations? I don't even know if I will qualify for reparations. On my mama's side, I don't know. We probably had some slaves, but I don't know. On my daddy's side, they not even from here. So do I get half a check or a whole check? And then, okay, let's say my father's side of the family, they not from here, but maybe some of them were slaves. Let's just go with it. How do we determine the percentage of the check that I'm going to get? based on my lineage? Are we doing DNA tests to prove this? What happens if your DNA test proved that you thought y'all was slaves, but some of your family actually showed up on the Mayflower and not the Amistad, like Angela Davis? Do you get a declination letter in the mail saying, sorry, you don't meet the criteria? Are you going to riot then? Here's the issue with feeling like you deserve something. My argument is very simple. There were some people that absolutely deserved reparations, but they're dead now. And just because you're their descendant doesn't necessarily mean that you are entitled to what they actually suffered through. They suffered what they suffered so that, one, now you don't have to. But instead of us being grateful for that suffering that brings us to where we are now and just using the opportunities that have already been afforded to us, nope, we can't do that. Here's the issue. There's no reason to give us reparations now because, one, none of us were ever slaves. I get it. Your great grandmama and them was a slave, so you feel just vicariously because they was a slave that you should get it. But no, we don't know the criteria that's going to be used. You don't know if you're going to qualify or be disqualified. And then two, where's the money going to come from? Because I'd be curious to know if we're going to go to like the west coast of Africa, right, and ask them to contribute to the pot since it was them that captured us and sold us to the Europeans. Like, how far back are we going to go? I mean, these are viable questions. The migrant conversation is directly related to this reparations conversation because it's a resource issue. Resources are already strained and now they're spread thin because we got to care for the migrants, right? Because we're humanitarians. So there's no check for you there. Land is now scarce, right? So if you like, okay, don't give me a check. Just give me 40 acres and a meal. You're not going to get that. We don't have enough land. Sorry. We got to house the illegals now. Sorry. We told you that this is what we were going to do, that if whoever wanted to come, whosoever will, let them come. Well, now they're here. So now you're placed on the back burner once again. We still don't know where the money's going to come from. We got a debt ceiling problem. Like, y'all's math ain't mathing. The economics is just, it's not mathing. I'm sorry. Who are we going to tax? Who are we going to tax to raise the money for these reparation checks? Are we just going to print the money? Like, how is this going to work? Y'all ain't thinking. It's like you want it because the idea of getting something that you didn't have to earn or work hard for and riding on the suffering of your ancestors, that's easy. That's real easy to do. But it's a whole different animal to be like, my ancestors suffered. They went through stuff that I'm not even built like that. I could not have gone through what they went through. But look at the America that I'm living in right now, right? Like, I don't have to sneak to learn how to read. I don't have to wear wooden shoes that don't conform to my feet because that's all that's available. I don't have to work in a coal mine at 9 years old. My forefathers may have done that, but I don't have to do that, right? My point is that for us to have a reparations conversation and not include the fact that these open borders are going to impact that, like, if you don't think that it's related and you're like, okay, well, yes, we're dealing with this migrant problem, but what about my money? You're not thinking clearly. You're thinking with a very covetous mindset of wanting something for suffering that you did not experience. Yes, reparations was owed. It just ain't owed to you. So the reason why I say it's a hoax, the conversation about reparations, is because many of us would love to have a come up. Listen, this economy is rough and I could use a check. I sure can. I know a whole lot of things that I would love to pay off right now if I got me a nice reparations check. I ain't even gonna lie to you. But if we were honest, we would actually recognize that the people who deserve the reparations are no longer alive today, right? And here's the argument. We've disgraced their memory. We have disgraced the memory and the legacy of those that are related to us who were actually slaves. I believe we have. Just look around at our community. They would be like, I don't know you people because y'all are shameful, right? The ones who couldn't read or write, but they learned to do so by candlelight, using a Bible that they managed to get their hands on. And they were just so grateful. Like, if I could just read the Bible, that would make a world of difference for me. We have disgraced and we bring shame to the ones who built schools, right? Who scraped up their money in the face of insurmountable oppression, like legit oppression, like actual laws in the books that said you can't come here because you look like this. These people built schools. They started businesses by the sweat of their brow, owing no man anything. And here we are saying, where's my check? The ones who paid it forward and after they learned to read, taught somebody else how to read, they paid it forward. We bring shame and disgrace to them. The ones who scrubbed floors, who worked as Pullman porters and saved all that they had to send their children to a university or college, particularly at HBCU, we've shamed them. We bring shame to all of them. Those are the ones who actually deserve the reparations. I wish I would, if people don't stop taking scriptures out of context to build their case for this and talk about, we supposed to be the head and not that's not an argument for reparations. That is not. You speaking it into existence is not an argument for reparations. That is no more than you taking scripture out of context to suit your own agenda, and you should stop that. Don't handle or mishandle the scriptures that way because you don't like what I'm saying, because you don't want to work by the sweat of your brow and earn it like they did. They are the ones. If anybody should have gotten reparations, it should be them. So what do we do now? You can keep whining and fighting for it, but I'm telling you, the left is showing you better than they can tell you that you ain't getting no reparations based on how they're treating you in your own communities with these migrants, these illegal aliens, the ones who are not supposed to be here, undocumented. The left is showing you just how much of a reparation check you're not going to get because they're scrounging, trying to figure out how to serve them and love on them. Now, you don't have to like it, but you need to prove me wrong because it's happening. Like, you heard the black people complaining, saying, this is our tax money. This is our tax money. And y'all just gonna do this? Do you really think Brandon Johnson was listening? Listen. Now my question is, are you awake yet? Now that you know how the Afrostocracy moves and functions, are you awake yet? Or are you still asleep? You see that this well-orchestrated group of individuals who've been gatekeeping for a particular elite, globalist elite agenda and interest, how they use race as a Trojan horse to keep you enraged and distracted so that they can usher in their real agenda, which is basically to have you own nothing and be happy. Own nothing and be happy about it. Are you ready to admit that you've only been voting for Democrats because you believe that they were for the people, particularly people of color? Are they showing you that they're really for people of color now with these policies? Note, I ain't talking about personalities. Just look at the policies. The issue with the Black American community is that they don't recognize that a good policy is good for everyone, regardless of what you look like. And if we took off our melanin glasses for a second and just was like, wait a minute, how come the policies over there seem to work well for that community that doesn't look like me, but I support these kind of policies over here, and it's doing this to us. Could it be is that a policy is good just on the basis of it being good, and it's good for the country regardless of what you look like? I mean, energy independence is just a good policy regardless of what you look like. Bringing manufacturing back is a good policy regardless of what you look like. Some of this stuff really clouds your judgment and you can't see it because all you see is race. So if you obsess about race all the time, a good economic policy, you won't be able to recognize it because you stay in a perpetual state of I'm unhinged because of white people. Good policies are good for everybody. They just work. A person that's a good negotiator can negotiate a win-win for everybody, and it's regardless of what color your skin is. I am praying that this live stream wakes somebody up to where they're like, you know what? This race hustling stuff don't really get me nowhere. Me just walking around with this chip on my shoulder because I'm black. I'm not winning. It feels good. Like it's a little pride in it, but I'm not winning. I'm not winning. I'm praying by God's grace you'll abandon it. I am. Are you ready? Are you ready to admit that the Dems were the party of slavery and they're still the party of slavery because they're trying to enslave you to these policies that keep you on a hamster wheel, greed, but never getting ahead? Are you awake to admit that? Are you ready to admit that voting for a particular party 100% all of the time will lead you to be simple-minded, but that it's better to examine the policies, get your feelings out of it, and compare these policies to the word of God and just stand on that? Has anything that I've said convinced you to stand for righteousness? Just like stand for what's right, not what the crowd is going with or what your desired people group, everybody else, who you voting for? I'm a vote. No. Stand for what's right. And do you see the wicked and idolatrous ethnic partiality? Do you see how ethnic partiality leads to wickedness and idolatry? I hope I've built the case for you to be able to see that. And seeing it is one thing, but are you willing to repent? Because I know I did. I told you in my opening monologue, I used to think like this. I used to move and function in a world where everything was about the blackity blackness until God arrested my heart and helped me to realize that is so sinful and wicked. Like, what makes you think you that special? You were in need of my holy grace, just like those people over there. You got to abandon it. Will you start seeing yourself as a son or daughter of God first and American second? Are you in the family of God first and then an American second? Because if you're in the family of God first, that will fix a whole lot of this erroneous thinking. If you're like, I'm in the family of God, so what does God's word say about this? Oh, okay, I got to change the way I think about this, and I need to check my heart because I'm holding hatred in my heart, and these people ain't never did nothing to me. I'm just letting these Afrosticians get me riled up for no reason at all. I'm just mad and don't even know why I'm mad. If nothing I've said has woken you up, you can continue to be blinded by Satan's lies that are designed to keep you having hatred in your heart against people who don't look like you. You can do that. And it can eat you up, and you will miss out on God's blessings in your life, and how there could be someone who don't look like you who wants to come along and help you, but you can't see it because you've got an ethnic bias that prevents you from looking at everybody as an image bearer of God and just accepting individuals on their face value till they've given you a reason to think otherwise. That's all I'm saying. At the end of the day, this migrant crisis, it sucks. And it's probably coming to a city near you. It probably is. And the only thing that I can tell the believer is we can be frustrated about it, or we can use it as a gospel opportunity. Because granted, these people came here unlawfully and illegally, and we can't force our country to do something about it when they should, but it still doesn't absolve us of the responsibility to use it as an evangelistic tool. Like, okay, well, you're here now. You're going to get this gospel. We got to humble ourselves and give the gospel anyway, right? We making disciples of all nations anyway. Might as well do it from a sincere heart. The purpose of this live stream wasn't to incite covetousness or envy or hatred. It was literally to prove a point that this is something called reaping what you sow, right? If you supported this, not understanding what a sanctuary city or an open border policy, the implications of it, you just got to eat it. You got to own it and eat it and say, all right, I voted for this, so I'm a believer. I've been convicted of the heart for the fact that I probably shouldn't have supported this, but now that it's here, how do I use it as a gospel opportunity if God puts me in a position where I can give the gospel? That's a thought. We can do that. Now, I still think the government needs to be held accountable. And I think it would be wrong for you to lose property or your children to be adversely affected by this. Like, you're going to have to use some, I don't have all the answers. You're going to have to use some sort of wisdom to figure out, like, if you're directly impacted by this, you know, you're going to have to get smart. You're going to have to make yourself invaluable, because don't think that your job is secure. I mean, before they got here, your job wasn't secure anyway, but you need to be thinking about your family. Like, okay, if job security is an issue, Lord, what skill or talent can I pick up so that I can continue to be valuable to the marketplace? So despite the influx of this coming in, that I can still demonstrate to the market that I have skills that are valuable, I will work. Because this is going to impact different people in different ways. Just like all those manufacturing jobs, how that impacted, you know, the Midwest in a very Detroit, Cleveland, all those cities were decimated. Like, we're reaping what we're sowing, and it sucks. But we just got to figure out a way to comfort one another despite the bad choices that some of us made either ignorantly or willingly. Because some of us willingly did this because of our hatred in our heart for the other party on the basis of things that weren't even true. We voted this way. Come on, tell the truth, shame the devil. So we are at the 2-hour mark. I did see a super chat that I failed to acknowledge, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. My apologies. I'm trying to find it. Oh, Lord, where is it? Y'all doing all right out there? I know I saw it. Maybe I'm going crazy. I thought I saw it. I could be wrong. There it goes. Whew. Hello, good friend. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that super chat. I really appreciate that. Someone asked to do a talk on Bishop Morton, who has his people on being Democrat and cursing Donald Trump. Yeah. You sure about that? Raw clock. You may not want to hear the words that I have from Mr. Paul Morton. I believe he's an enemy to the faith. He's actually denied the faith in so many ways. The wickedness that came out of that man's mouth or comes out of his mouth on Twitter is so ungodly. So I might do a video one day I know I've done one on William Murphy, Jamal Bryant, did a brief one on TD Jakes, but Paul Morton has escaped my content creation schedule. So I hope you guys enjoyed this show. I know Auntie April, she a little sharp with it sometimes. I know this. I do. But it's because while I don't believe that there's no one ethnicity that is like superior to the other, I don't believe that. I do have a special affection in my heart for my kinsmen according to the flesh, like the Apostle Paul had for his. And it's because we have a unique history. We're not the only ones who've suffered. Don't get me wrong, but we when I say we, it ain't me, because I told you I'm not built like my ancestors. I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it through the Middle Passage. But the amount of challenges and obstacles that we experience getting here during slavery, post-slavery, Reconstruction, like the way we were able to keep our families together and have morals and values, and we just not built like that no more. And I know it's in us. We used to have such a strong moral compass because God was at the center. Even for the nominal, just professing Christians, way back in the day, it was something about our faith got us through that I wish we could see a resurgence of that. But we're so morally debased that it's the destruction of, when I say the community, I'm just talking about on a broad spectrum. It grieves me. And that's why it bothers me, not to keep calling you out, Music Man 2005, but that's why it bothers me to have you caping so hard for wickedness. Because I'm like, that's not who we were. We weren't able to accomplish and stand strong in the face of so much opposition because we were championing wickedness. It's because we were on the side of righteousness. Despite, we always had, the select miscreants of the community, but they didn't speak for us, nor did they represent us. And we held that in a good, not equal tension, but you knew our women carried ourselves a certain way. Our men carried themselves a certain way. This just wasn't us. I don't know you new school Black folks. I don't know y'all. I'm trying to get in touch with the ones who were integral in making this American great. I'm talking about the Civil War vets, the World War I, World War II vets, the women that supported them. Like I'm trying to be identified with them Black folks. I don't like these post-civil rights movement. I don't I don't like those. Right, she don't speak for us. Yeah, I'm not getting into a back and forth argument about reparations. Y'all can keep begging for money that you ain't never gonna see. I'd rather spend my time sharpening a skill or a talent to generate wealth to provide for my family and provide something useful in the marketplace that all of y'all can enjoy. But I'm not about to be in the street, pumping my fists for reparations. To me, it is just, there is a better use for my time than that. Y'all free to do it though. Just let me know. If you get it, I won't even ask for none. I'll be like, I didn't fight for it, so then I shouldn't get it. I'm cool. I mean, make it do what it do. Do you. You do you. If you think you gonna get it, then okay. With the way these migrants are coming in and this new voting block, there ain't no incentive to give y'all no money. Please, stop. Just like y'all thought y'all was gonna get student loan forgiveness too, right? Okay, I'll hold out. Announcement time. Y'all do not forget about the Standard Home and Living a Lifestyle store. That is the lifestyle brand of the podcast. A lot of other channels, they have merch on the merch shelf. I do too. I house mine off of YouTube. You can see them on YouTube, but most of my stuff is on the Standard Home and Living website. I've got cute little things like this. Like this is Mom's sippy cup. I don't know if y'all can see this. This was my iced coffee that I had. It's probably watered down now, but I sell cute little mugs like this. I sell stuff that's actually going to aid in your spiritual growth, such as growing in grace. I've got a few more of these left. This is knowing and loving God through spiritual disciplines. This is one of my favorites. It's a workbook. I think it's a 6-week, or is this an 8-week study? I can't remember. Let me see. I think this one is this might be a 4-week study. Yep. No, 3-week. 4-week, sorry. 4-week study on growing in grace. If you're a new convert, or you're like, I want to know and love God through spiritual disciplines, this would be a good one for you. I think this is like $20, Growing in Grace. I love the artwork. It's just a pretty book. It's a very pretty book. I have that. If you're suffering through depression, never alone, this one right here. Let me get these QR codes for you guys. Hold on. So in case you're interested, if you are battling depression, here we go. Growing in Grace. And I have tons of t-shirts. Y'all, please get these t-shirts off of my hand. I have some t-shirts. Saved by Grace. Saved by Grace through faith. Do thou shalt not try me. I've got so many. Let me just show you. Hold on. Where is it? I still have some of these left. Hold on. Let me just bring up some of the I still have some jewelry left. And this one is actually like a unisex shirt. So let me kind of show y'all some of these. Hold on. All right. And I have a promo code if you want it. So if you're interested in a promo code to save 30% off, I will put that link up in a minute. Hold on. Let me get you that one. Colossians Rooted in Him is a tried and true. It's a study on the book of Colossians. And then this was a depression study I was telling you about. That one, if you've recently experienced the death of a loved one, I actually have some grief journals as well. You can find those on the website. And believe it or not, y'all, these are my favorite. So this one right here, these are adjustable measuring cups. It's hard to see it here in the picture, but like when you have your drawer and you kind of nest all your cups together, but they always get all splattered all over the place. These adjustable measuring cups save space and they adjust in size. So you have from like a quarter of a teaspoon all the way up to a cup all in one apparatus. Super cool. Let me get you guys the discount code. Hold on. There we go. So it's right there in that corner. Do y'all like the new setup? Do y'all want me to go back to how it was? Give me some feedback so I can know how you guys feel about this new layout. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you like it? Don't matter, whatever. Let me know. Robert and I kind of came up with this new layout so that I could have more room on the desk. And we just thought it looked pretty. I don't know. Why did we decide to do this? I don't know. But everything on the set, not everything, a lot of it has sentimental meaning. So for example, the Tetelestai sign, the John 1930, my babies made that. My kids have a wood sign business. So that's one of the wood signs that they make. They actually made both of those. So that the Standard of Truth podcast sign, that is a painted wood sign. And then that one, the It Is Finished in Greek, that's a wood sign. They custom did both of those for me. And then I have my systematic theology book behind me. That's like next to the Bible. It's like a go-to reference book that I absolutely love. And then the birds, the gold birds right here, those birds were inspired by logo. So they're not doves, but I say that they're doves because the Standard of Truth logo, that's supposed to be a dove. So we just call those birds doves. And then pink is my favorite color. So that's why you see all the pink and the white. And yeah, but this new cabin, this is actually a dresser that Robert saw it. He was like, babe, I gotta grab this. I'm sorry. He did that for me. So if y'all like it, I appreciate that. Okay, good. All right. Are y'all still arguing about reparations? It's fine if you are. I'm about to wrap up the show. Did anybody have any questions that they would like? Oh, Esquire of Sports. I need to check out yours. I'm always looking for inspiration. So the only thing I don't like about yes, I am a pink person. Only thing I don't like about the set is this. I have to figure out a different mic setup because to me this just, it's messing up with the vibe. So if I could find a white microphone, I would be very, very happy. So I'm going to be on the lookout for a white microphone. And I'm also going to incorporate another camera angle. But to do that, I need to invest in a switcher. So if you want to support the show to keep improving the show, you can do so by going to my website at the Standard of Truth podcast.com. And there's a donate button there. And you can also donate using this QR code right there. That is so awkward how I'm trying to point, but I just can't do it or whatever. Yes. So all of your support helps to improve the show. And then also, you guys, we're going to have to seriously start thinking about alternative platforms. And the reason why that is because YouTube is wilding. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. YouTube is wilding out, and they're not friendly to Christian content creators, and they are actively suppressing content that's God honoring and useful and helpful for people. And so I am in the process of researching how to stream and house my own content off of this platform, and then maybe just use the platform to let y'all know new content is dropped, but you need to go click here. And it'll be a very similar environment, meaning you'll still have the live chat, but YouTube just makes it very, very hard to sustain because of the algorithm. I refuse, I'm not going to make content just to please the algorithm, right? So for example, I don't know if you guys follow Alan Parr. He's another Christian content creator. And I don't really watch or take in his content, but for some reason, one of his videos came across my YouTube feed and I watched it. And he talked about how he is stepping away from YouTube, or functioning in a different capacity for a number of reasons. One of the reasons that he mentioned was that, and I felt it deep in my soul, was that YouTube, he didn't say it like this, so I'm going to paraphrase. He said that YouTube can be a trap in the sense that when it loves you, when the algorithm loves you, it loves you. Like when you're hot, you're hot. And then when you're not, you're just not. And if you're not careful, you'll end up constantly second guessing yourself and creating content that you think the YouTube algorithm wants you to make, and not creating content that flows from inspiration or passion or what you believe that is good for your audience. And he said he found himself burning out, working hard, neglecting his family, trying to produce all this good quality content, and then the views just are not there. And he found himself trying to, like, he started to find his identity in relationship to how well a video performed. And I listen, I did not get on the YouTube so I can go crazy and have a nervous breakdown because y'all just not watching my stuff. Like, I'm not doing that. It's not that serious. But I do enjoy making content. But what I realize is that if you're a Christian content creator, what you might believe is a good, godly video that's going to bless people and challenge them. Like, I'm not always going to come and give you, niceties that make you feel good. I do content like that, but a lot of the times I'm trying to make you think and challenge you and open up your mind to be like, you know what, I've never even thought like that before. I didn't consider that. That's important. But what I realized from my audience, now I'm about to tell on y'all. Y'all can take this piece of information and do what you want with it, but YouTube gives me insight, not just me, but all content creators. Once you understand YouTube and how it works, YouTube will give you insight into what your audience actually likes and what they want to watch. And I was clutching my imaginary pearls when I did a deep dive into my analytics, and I saw what the vast majority of my audience, the audience that I have come to grow and love, I was shocked that I'm like, this is what they want to watch. YouTube is telling on all of y'all. So YouTube let me know that probably about 70% of my audience is infatuated and just cannot get enough of reality TV, such as the Real Housewives franchise. You pick one, y'all love it. Y'all love it. And I was like, not my people. Y'all also like, there's this other show called, oh my gosh, I should have wrote it down. I'm going to share these analytics with y'all one day. And we just going to have a heart to heart, because it made me realize that people may like your content, but I'm not the only one that you're watching. And I can't discern why you're watching me and then watching that. But what I do know is that I'm like, but I was like, I don't even make content like that. So I'm like, why is it like the top 10 of stuff that y'all want to see? It's like smut TV. And so I told the Lord, I was like, well, I don't know what to do with that, but I can tell you, I'm not going to make that kind of content just because after y'all watch me, y'all like, okay, let me get back to my regularly scheduled show, right? I'm at peace with it. I'm accepting it. It is what it is. But I just wanted y'all to know that I know what y'all be watching, because YouTube will tell me, people who watch you, these are the other top 10 things that they like to watch. And I was like, I don't know what to do with that, because we're not even in the same category. Like, I can't compete with the Married to Medicines or the whatever, the Housewives show and the Love and Hip Hop. It's like, I can't compete with that. I ain't here for that. I am not here for that. I wish there was a way for me to figure out how to, appeal to be more appealing, but I'm just who I am. So I'm thankful for those of you who do watch. The Lord places my videos in front of the people that are meant to watch them. However, I did want to have a conversation to let y'all know, like, if you don't tell YouTube that this type of video is important to you, Christian content creators are not going to be able to sustain themselves on this platform. And we're going to have to figure out another platform to go to where we believe that our content will be seen. And like, I'm not ready to make a shift to Rumble, but I don't know. I got to figure something out. But yeah, I don't know. There's no competition. Oh, thank you, Kim, for Jess. I appreciate that. I do. But like I said, I recognize, like, I like to be entertained, right? For example, like when Kevin Samuels was alive, I would watch his content because it was just some of that stuff you was like, you can't make this up. It was just funny. You know, you need, and a lot of times I would watch him so I can get insight into what was going on in the culture. Because I mean, I've been married like 16, it'll be 16 years in December. I was like, I don't know what the dating scene is like, you know. I knew I had single friends that were like, it's rough out here. I just didn't know how rough it really was. So I would watch his content from time to time. And yeah, like, he's not even alive anymore. And he gets some serious views. Serious views. So anyway, I said all that to say that please like the video. Let YouTube know that you like the video. And I will see you guys next time. Hopefully I'll see you guys at G3 pretty soon. They're having a rate increase in June. So if you don't save this 30% now, the rate's going to go up again. And then it's going to really hurt for you to register for this conference. So use my code G3STP to save 30% off. And yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing Lord's Day tomorrow. Go and fellowship with a body of believers that's not digital. Like, go touch some people, right? Go edify them and do all of that good stuff. Absolutely not. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. They definitely watch that stuff. It's fine. It's fine. I just didn't know. Anyway, you guys have a great night, and I love you with the love of the Lord, and y'all take care.
God is sovereign over everything. He is sovereign over the entire universe. He is sovereign over nature. He literally has created everything that exists out of nothing.
It is the doctrine of sovereign election that empowers and ignites missions, and it is the doctrine of sovereign election that guarantees the success of missions around the world.
We will not build the church according to the changing whims of an ungodly culture. We will change that ungodly culture by the power of the immutable gospel.
All I have is God wrapped himself in flesh, died on a cross, nailed my sin thereto, was placed in the grave, rose again on the third day, ascended to the right hand of the Father, and is there making intercession for me until such time as my salvation is completed and he takes me home.
The more they see, the more they will love him. Stop giving them all this silly fodder and life principles and lay before them. Live your life in solitude, crying out to God. Live your life on your knees. Live your life with your Bibles torn asunder. Live your life for the people of God to be able to present to them the beauty of what he is, the glory of his cross.
There is no such thing as Mother Nature. God rules and reigns over everything. There's not a leaf that falls from a tree that God did not call it to fall at that very moment. God is in control of every single thing, meticulously ruling over the entire universe. Join us for the 2023 G3 National Conference on the Sovereignty of God.